Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Sunday, September 21st, 2025, and I think everything's working okay, although my viewers are pretty low. Oh, no, there we go. And what new hate speech laws, and how do they apply to you? We're going to look at that. And yesterday I talked about the whole bill, and I kind of read the whole bill out, and it's kind of dry. And somebody's done a little bit of a thread on it, so I'll read the thread to you. Ostrich update and context. Why are they doing this? Some people speculate about the reasons behind this, and some are darker than others. Charlie Kirk's funeral is today. I think the vice president and the president are going to be in attendance, and that's pretty crazy. Imagine the security, and they've already found, they're putting up fences. They've already found one fake security guard, and they removed that guy. There were people trying to plant weapons. So there's all sorts of wild and crazy stories coming out of this Charlie Kirk funeral. It's giving some bad people a target. And it's just, these are stories that I've kind of stumbled upon. I don't even think that they're really big stories, just things that people are talking about. Wild, absolutely wild. The math on food and the speed at which we're taking on debt and what that means for the broader economy is where we're going to start today. And so there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, the food professor is breaking down why are Australian steaks more expensive than, not more expensive, less expensive than Canadian steaks. He says, we're having an affordable Australian steak tonight, and it's amazing. Ever wonder why Australian steaks can sell for less in Canada than Canadian steak, even in Canadian grocery stores? Let's break it down. He says high domestic costs. Canadian beef is produced under strict health, feed, and environmental standards. Add in land, labor, feed, transport, carbon taxes. All of it drives up prices. Australia's model. Australia is one of the world's largest beef exporters, grass-fed, large-scale ranching, lower production costs, exporting built into their system. That's why their steak often lands cheaper in Canada. Trade and currency, thanks to trade deals like the CPTPP, tariffs on Australian beef are falling. Plus, if the Australian dollar is weak versus the Canadian dollar, the exports look even cheaper on our shelves. Retail strategy, grocers like to offer imports as a value option. That way they pressure Canadian packers and give shoppers a cheaper choice. The paradox, Canadian beef fetches top dollar abroad in Japan and United States. Packers prioritize exports. Result, imports fill the gap at home and sometimes cost less than local product. So it's just one of those examples where I want to show the difference between our bad policies. Our policies, I think they're bad, but maybe people like them, I don't know, and Australia's more business friendly, more export friendly policies. Also, they've got, I mean, does Australia have more land than Alberta for ranching and things like that, or for the prairies even more broadly, right? Like, I don't know if I believe that. I think that there's usable land, comparable usable land in Australia and in the Canadian prairies. And so it's interesting that we can't do it at a competitive rate, right? I think that paints a picture of bad policies that are making us not very competitive. We should be able to produce home-fed beef, homegrown beef to Canadians across Canada for cheap. And I mean, cheap relatively. It doesn't have to be like dirt cheap or anything like that, but you should be able to have beef on the table, but I don't think they want us to. And that's why they use all of these policies to push up the prices. And that's why it's all of a sudden cheaper to get Australian beef, right? That would be expensive beef at some point, maybe. Health Ranger says, the name I've come up with for the economic collapse that now seems imminent is the Wreckoning. That's where the title for today's show came from, because the economy is going to be totally wrecked. I hope he's wrong. Fingers crossed. Have you noticed how quickly the American economy is adding $1 trillion in debt is being added to the American economy's national debt? The last $1 trillion jump in debt took less than 80 days. 80 days? Weren't we at 3 months just a second ago? I guess that's 90 days, right? But 80 days. Okay. Soon it will be 40 days, and then $1 trillion a month. And that's going up at a good clip, right? How quickly do things start disintegrating if your debt goes up to $1 trillion a month? That seems like a lot, right? Everyone who's studied economic history knows how this ends, hence the reckoning. Consider gold or silver if you want to have any assets that survive it. Interesting. And I mean, I hope he's wrong. Chocolate cereal will survive that, right? Chocolate cereal futures. For sure, definitely. Dr. Leslyn Lewis says conservatives are calling for full disclosure of documents and a thorough investigation into government's $1 billion loan to a Chinese shipyard. Enough liberal spin. Canadians deserve the truth. So in Canada, we have a spending problem. And also, instead of spending at home, our government is making sure that a lot of contracts are going to China. And they're worried if they don't continue with this commitment that China is going to retaliate even more than they already have. Canola, we've got a weakness on, and there's all sorts of concerning areas where China could put more pressure on, I think, and the Canadian government doesn't want to rock the boat already more than it already has. And so I'm concerned that Canada's not going to do much. And even if it does do something like repealing the EV tariffs, thereby opening the floodgates to Chinese EVs on our roads, people are going to get upset by that move too. And so they've kind of got themselves into a bit of a pickle here, but what do you do, right? And it doesn't look like they're going to save the canola harvest. So it's just layers upon layers of diplomatic, one of those Chinese finger traps, right? Like you're trapped here, right? And so they're kind of stuck, and they're going to print money. They're going to give that money to the farmers whose canola crops are going to not go to China now. And so the farmers are going to be able to tread water, and they're not going to lose the farm probably, but it's not going to be a bumper crop for canola, and the farmers are going to try and find buyers for their canola, and so on and so forth. But it's not ideal. And in this way, our economy is not strong too, right? And there are other examples of our economy not being strong. The fact that we can't get pipelines built, the fact that we can't get our product to Tidewater, the fact that we're not supplying Europe with oil and gas and LNG, right? Just wild stuff. Here's Tamara Litch, and this is a little bit of a different kind of story, but this is a grab bag of governance to start us off. We got to talk about free speech, and we will before the end of the free segment today. Tamara Litch says, I'm sure the timing of this CTV news piece and Jolie's announcement was a mere coincidence. So CTV is reporting COVID-19 XFG. Ooh, that sounds so scary. I'm scared. I want to know about the new variant. They're not kidding. This is from September 20th, 2025. The new variant of COVID. Everybody get your masks out. Nope, I don't think so. Industry Minister Mel Joly takes a jab at countries that turn their backs to science as she joins Moderna's CEO in announcing the new company has made its first dose of its COVID mRNA vaccine at its facility in Laval, Quebec. And so they're revving up that engine again. And the government that just built a Potemkin village to have carnies stand in front of it and announce pretend housing is sending bags of sand and labeling it with wheat, product of Canada, just for them to make sure that it has the right look. They want the propaganda to hit right? But we don't sell wheat in these bags anymore, and haven't since like the 1960s or something like that. Anyway, Mark says, our government made stickers to slap on bags of wheat sand for a photo op in Mexico. Another staged circus act from a performative government that thinks we're fools. Who wants to bet these are actually sandbags with stickers on them? Or rice bags from Asia. He says, from Asia. They're Asian rice bags. They're not even Canadian. Slap a maple leaf on it and call it Canadian, eh? Right? I feel like we're being taken for a ride, and other people feel that way too. So let's talk about free speech. They're really, honestly, genuinely trying to take down free speech in the West, I think, and it's not good. And it is a slow march to convince people that hate speech is dangerous, way more dangerous than those illegal guns that the criminals in most big cities these days use. Way more dangerous than that. We've got to use a lot of resources, lots of police resources to go after these memers online for hate symbols, because the hate symbols, that's what's causing the rise in crime. And also the fact that we don't have digital ID. That's the reason that there's so much crime. We don't have digital ID, and people are allowed to make comical memes that radicalize the rest of Canada to be hateful. That's obviously the solution, is to arrest people for memes. And that's like the broken windows idea, right? If you arrest people for memes, all of the other crimes will stop. I'm being facetious. I'm joking, but I don't know if it's hitting. But it's one of those things where that's genuinely what they're trying to do. And it's terrifying. And that they're kind of rolling it out in England. And I fear if they get C9 passed, they're going to try and do stuff like that in Canada. Like, hi, we noticed that you liked this post. What do you mean by that? like, aren't there other real crimes happening right now? Aren't there? Go away, right? And if you tell the police to go away, I guess that's not a good idea. Anyway, here's Chairman O Mau Mau, and he says, I was there when they were meeting in Aspen to discuss creative ways to stop free speech. I was there when they were emailing Jack and Mark Zuckerberg on an hourly basis with names of accounts that they wanted silenced. I was there when it was demanded that anyone who questions the origin of COVID or masks or lockdowns should permanently be removed from social media. I was there when they said, if you didn't get vaccinated, you shouldn't be allowed to buy groceries. I remember reporting on all of these, right? Hell, I was there when they took out his account with 50,000 followers. Yeah, I lost my YouTube channel. I was there when they started debanking people for the things they said. I was there when they cheered and popped bottles of champagne because the president of the United States had his Twitter account suspended. I was there when they threw a guy in jail for a meme. I was there when they tracked down a forklift driver and got him fired. I was there when they tried to get a kid killed because they didn't like his smirk. Remember the drum guy, the mega hat and the drum guy? And the kid was like, oh my gosh, what do I do right now? This is the weirdest thing ever. And that was it. They were like, I can't believe he was so insensitive to that Indigenous man. What? Lost our ever-loving minds, honestly. I've been there for the last 6 months, and they happily swatted people they didn't agree with, and I was there when they climbed onto a roof and shot a man because they thought his speech was becoming a little too effective. So spare me your newfound reverence for free speech. Don't even try it. And this is in response to everybody saying I am Jimmy Kimmel, right? We are all Jimmy Kimmel and all this nonsense. It's ridiculous. C9 in Canada is talking about hate speech, and I talked about it yesterday, but I feel like it's worth a revisiting, especially when somebody has a whole write-up for me. And GDF&BS says, Bill C9, the Combating Hate Act. Parliament just introduced Bill C9, and it's got some interesting elements. Here's what's inside and why you should be concerned. No more Attorney General oversight. It removes the Attorney General's consent for hate speech prosecutions. Translation: prosecutions can now move ahead without a political safeguard. 2, symbol bans. Looking at you, meme guys. Criminalizing public displays of certain symbols, swastikas, SS bolts, terrorist group emblems. My question on this one is, what if it's a pretend country, the quote terrorist group was a joke country, and the government made the terrorist group out of pretty much nothing, patches that they had, and then declared it a terrorist group? What if you have that in your profile? Like, is that also terrorist? Because I feel like they're going to start if you have an Al-Quds, or if you've got like a Khalistani flag in your profile, or other flags that may be questionable, like if you're like, oh, that's probably, that might be on terrorists, I think you might be a terrorist if you've got this flag in your profile, right? Those people would be left alone. But people with like the Dukes of Hazzard flag, that flag, those people will get cracked down on. Red ensigns, holy smokeronis, that's a terrorist, that's a terrorist effect. Diagolon, holy smokeronis, Diagolon guys will be the first to go down, only because the government is bonkers. And then they'll say, we passed this law. It says if you have terrorist symbolism in wherever, in public place, you broken this law, and we're gonna swat you guys, or whatever it is. We're gonna raid you guys at 4:00 in the morning. That's how I feel like this is being crafted. They're crafting this in order to target those people. And most Canadians, like most Brits before Lucy Connolly went to jail, didn't realize what happened until the police showed up on their door. The one guy got arrested for sharing a meme. He said it was that guy. They were standing outside. It's that guy's meme. He was the one who shared it. It was his meme. I just reshared the meme. I'm getting arrested. Well, somebody reported your account. Okay. So why have social media at all? It's useless, right? At that point in time, if you share anything, you put yourself at risk of being arrested for somebody's incorrect interpretation of it. Unbelievable stuff. So symbol bans, criminalized public display of certain symbols, the swastika, SS bolts, terrorist group emblems. Even similar looking symbols can land you in court, leaving it wide open to interpretation. Max time, 2 years in prison. The new hate crime offense: any crime becomes a hate crime if it's alleged to be motivated by hatred, race, religion, language, sex, age, disability, gender, etc. Punishment escalates up to life in prison, subjective and wide open for abuse. Yep. 4, restrictions around religious and cultural sites makes it a crime with a 10-year maximum to intimidate or block access to churches, community centers, cemeteries, schools, daycares. Sounds fine, but what about protests that happen somewhere near one of these sites? It's a gray zone. Property seizure, anything used in an offense can be confiscated, yes, including your computer or device for a meme. Wow. Sounds like a good thing. There are definitely some areas of concern. Bill C-9 gives the states sweeping new powers under the banner of hate. Oversight gone, definitions vague and wide open for interpretation, penalties are extreme, free speech and protest are at risk. It's being sold as combating hate, but in practice it could silence dissent, chill journalism, and weaponize the criminal code against critics, but they'd never do that, right? Don't let this guy fly under the radar. Share this to spread the word. So there you go. It's very concerning, and it seems like it's crafted to pass the sniff test for people who are fair weather politician or political junkies. You know, they watch for 5 seconds and they're like, oh, they're combating hate, that'll help. But it's not going to help, and it's going to target their political rivals, and it's not going to be good. Tracy Wilson is talking about this. Mark Carney says those who spread hate and violence in our communities will have no safe harbor in Canada. And it says government tables legislation targeting hate symbols, protecting places of worship. Tracy says, does this mean no more Death to Canada signs or chanting on our streets? No, that's protected speech, because that allows the narrative to move forward, that Canada is something that needs to not exist anymore, that colonialism is bad, blah, 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 all this stuff. That's protected, just like pulling down statues is not vandalism. It's somehow protected protest or something like that. But if you say, you know, Canada for Canadians, and we should re-immigration, we should do these things, then those things will be viewed as hateful because the government says so. And that's absolutely bonkers, but that's how they're going to interpret this. Make no mistake. Just like the flags in the profile thing, you could have an "I love terrorism against Canada" flag that just says "I love terrorism against Canada," and you would be left alone, just because people who are running this whole thing, they want that. But if you say we should protect Canadians against terrorism, holy smoke, buddy, that's a terrorism. You know, like, you can't have that. Terrorism is targeting civilians. That's all terrorism is. I want to make sure everybody understands what terrorism is. There's no specific like class. You don't have to bomb something to be a terrorist. It's just that you're targeting innocent civilians. That's terrorism. That's the point. Here is speech controls that I don't think people realize exist. I don't think people understand just how ubiquitous those speech rules are. And so this guy's a musician, Jamie, and he called X to advertise his song. And X couldn't advertise the song because the song had reference to Donald Trump in it. And because the Canadian government says that's political, X is not allowed to boost it. It'll automatically be deboosted. And so I run a political show. My show's political. And so my show is caught up in this censorship at the behest of the Canadian government. But I thought we were allowed to have free expression. Wouldn't this be a charter violation? The Canadian government having some limitations on advertisements or limitations on the algorithm, right? Like, it's one of those things where I don't know how this gels with the laws that are supposed to govern the land. Makes me think that maybe the laws that I think govern the land don't. Here's Jamie talking to ex-advertising representative explaining what's going on. Here we go.
I find it, so this is just to confirm, so my music video, Still Fighting, has not been approved for Canada because it has Donald Trump in it.
Yeah, so the political content in Canada is very strict. And that's something where, you know, typically when I spoke to some of my other colleagues, some political content does, you know, fly. But in this case, if it's Donald Trump, it's something that I wasn't really aware of where it was going to get halted. Because even if it's not, like, swaying towards one party or another, that's where the problem is. right? Where even if it's even going to mention Trump in Canada, it's not allowing it anymore.
Wow.
So that's because of the Canadian government and not X.
Wow. So is there like penalties if they do put anything with Trump? Really? Like what?
Because like X is trying to bring back a lot of like advertisers now as well, so they have to stay compliant. That's the whole problem. So I looped in. What I did was I looped in like the lead policy head here at X.
But for sure, I can't advertise the song "Still Fighting" because it has Trump in it.
Yeah.
Wow. Now the other one, "Just Drive," that will be a go, but I can't talk about. Let me just reiterate: we can't talk about the freezing bank accounts. We can't mention anything about anybody getting arrested or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. We removed all these other stipulations, so we're trying to get the approval, right?
I'm trying to.
And he says, I'm going to work for you because, you know, I'm your advertising rep, right? So crazy stuff going on in Canada. And again, I don't know how that jives with our charter, which promises free expression. We're not allowed to have free expression if we're being censored, and we are being censored, and that's not so good. Alan says, this looks like a comedy sketch, but it's actually two police officers performing an Orwellian act that one would associate with China or North Korea. What's going on in the United Kingdom? Keir Starmer thinks we'll go along with digital ID. And yeah, so this is a wild scene. Her mistake is letting her in the house, letting these people in the house. We'll watch the first minute. The police push their way into the house, and I think I wouldn't let them in. Like, I don't think I'd let them in. That'd be that. Like, you don't have a warrant to come into my house. You don't have a warrant to seize this phone. They said, if you don't let us have this phone, we're going to take your kid to jail.
Okay, what was it?
Sorry, I don't like the camera. You can have my body cam. I can exhibit that to you. I just don't like the camera, really.
Okay, well, I'm doing this because this is my own house, and I am telling you why
that's
I'm
fine.
So I just need to know why would she's basically viewed a post which is not an arrestable offence.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
It happened in May, and you're completely fine. The only thing is, we need to seize the phone at this current moment. The phone needs to get seized from us, otherwise we will escalate this further. So,
but with a voluntary interview.
So have you seized anyone else? Is she the only child you're picking on?
Voluntary interview, you'd be able to come in
Have
with
you
your
spoken
daughter
to anyone
and a
else?
solicitor,
No,
but
we'll
there's
come
no
to the
arrest.
station now.
do you mind letting her finish her sentence before?
Yeah.
It does have to get further escalation, unfortunately.
That's fine. We'll come to the
No,
station now.
you're not under-
the phone isn't seized right now, and we're not able to basically get the phone. We have to escalate this further, which means your daughter will get arrested.
For what?
And then
Viewing a social media post? Is
I
that?
need to go with that in order to.
No, absolutely not.
What can we do to
No.
prevent destruction of evidence?
I'm sorry.
Lisa,
Unfortunately.
That's fine. I would like you to leave now. I'd like you to leave.
This is why you're
Okay, I have nothing more to say to you.
here for.
A social media post. I've got nothing more to say. I'd like you to leave. You've harassed this child enough. I'd like you to leave.
Lisa, that's no worries.
Awful, right? And so other people are talking about this. Concerned Citizen says, meanwhile, in Britain, your daughter has viewed a post online and we need to seize her phone. We need her phone right now or your daughter will be arrested. And she says, you've harassed this child long enough. Yeah, people are noticing. And here's Tommy Robinson. He says, Starmer's regime send what appears to be Sharia police to threaten to take a lady's daughter into custody if she doesn't hand over her phone. The child's crime, looking at a social media post. This is England in 2025. Pretty crazy stuff. Kat says, as always, Bev Turner lays it bare. And digital IDs and tying, like they're already coming to people's houses to confiscate phones for viewing social media posts. So this is pretty wild and crazy stuff. The digital ID will make it that much worse, and they're trying to bring it in, and they're trying to force it. Isn't the right term, but yeah, I guess it is force it is. And so that's why I'm bringing it up here. But we're also going to talk about digital ID in the invasion part as well. Kat says, as always, Bev Turner lays it bare. Digital ID is a digital dog tag, which will be used to link your finances, medical history, travel, social media, and social media activities. With the dreaded next step, a digital pound that can control spending activities, lock you out of the system, and deny access to your money. I won't be living with you in a digital cage, I will do everything to remain outside of that system. Yeah, I agree with that. And we've got to say goodbye to the stream. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you want the whole show, head to CanadaPoly.com and you can